Okay, welcome everyone. We just have a couple of people here. So this is a State Building Code Council work group for economic impact listening session for all other building codes except the energy codes. So I'm the chair, Todd Byruther. We will open the meeting today. This is recorded, and some of the members of the work group will follow up via recording and with anticipation of a meeting next week to review the content today. So with that, I'm going to hand it to our managing director, Dustin Kerb, to guide us through the process.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Dustin Kerb, and I'll be acting as the moderator of today's listening session. Before we get started, I want to give an overview of how this session is structured. The State Building Code Council is holding listening sessions for proposed rulemaking related to adoption and amendment of the 2024 Washington State Building Codes. This session is specific to changes to WAC 5150 for the International Building Code and International Existing Building Code, 5151 for the International Residential Code, 5152 for the International Mechanical Code, International Fuel Gas Code, NFPA 54 and NFPA 58, 5154A, which is for the International Fire Code, and 5156 for the Uniform Plumbing Code. The SBCC is seeking additional input from the public regarding economic impacts resulting from proposed changes to the 2024 Washington State Building Codes. Information gathered will assist the SBCC in its determination that the probable benefits of the rules are greater than their probable costs. In addition, the SBCC would like to hear from small businesses on topics such as the cost of compliance, including cost of equipment, supplies, labor, training, professional services, and increased administrative costs. Changes to sales or revenue, job creation or loss, and whether changes have a greater impact on small businesses. Written testimony is also welcome. Please use the SBCC Economic Impact Questionnaire located on the Forms page of the SBCC website to provide written feedback. Please send written comments to sbcc@des.wa.gov. Please use the raise hand function of Zoom to indicate you wish to give testimony. The moderator will call you on participants in the order of raised hands. This listening session is divided into 6 segments. The first, from 1 to 1:30, is dedicated to the International Building Code and the International Existing Building Code. The second, beginning at 1:30 and ending at 2, is dedicated to the International Residential Code. The third, beginning at 2 and ending at 2:30, is dedicated to the International Mechanical Code and the International Fuel Gas Code. At that point, we'll take a quick break. The fourth segment, beginning at 2:40 and ending at 3, is dedicated to the International Fire Code. The fifth, beginning at 3 and ending at 3:30, is dedicated to the Uniform Plumbing Code. And then the sixth final segment, beginning at 3:30 and ending at 4, is dedicated to all codes listed under WAC 51. This last session would allow commenters to participate if they missed an opportunity earlier. Between each dedicated segment, hands will be lowered by the moderator. In order to assure that everyone has a chance to make comments in a timely manner, please keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. Staff will let you know when you have about a minute left to wrap up. Also, we will let you know when it's been 3 minutes and to finish up. Remember, you can also submit your comments in writing, either via email or postal mail. If you have a script for today's comments, please provide that to staff to assist in getting accurate documentation of your input. Just as a reminder, this listening session is for economic impact of the specific proposed rule changes. If you have comments about the 2024 code adoption cycle, but for issues that aren't specific to economic impact of the proposed changes, please provide those to staff separately. We will now hear oral comments regarding the economic impact of the proposed changes to the 2024 International Building Code. For the record, please identify yourself and whom you represent. Please speak clearly so we can get a good recording of your comments. In order to ensure that everyone has a chance to make comments in a timely manner, please limit your comments to 3 minutes. I have a couple commenters who signed up beforehand, and I see in the room, and one has the hand up. Tim Atterbury, please go ahead.
Yep, Tim Atterbury with the Associated General Contractors of Washington. We represent 700 commercial general contractors, subcontractors, and suppliers here in the state of Washington. Wanted to speak on the embodied carbon proposal and environmental product declaration issues. just my testimony has already been submitted in writing. I believe, Dustin, you sent that out to SBCC members. So this is just a follow up on that. We had a member, Craig Holt, who used to serve on the State Building Code Council, who did a pilot EPD project for the University of Tacoma. And here are his real world economic impact experience with that project that I think is viable testimony as far as where this would hit a small business. Mr. Holt, I'll just read from an email he sent to me on the topic before he passed away. Craig says, my experience so far has been limited to the pilot we did for the University of Tacoma, where the project had to pay our mass timber supplier $35,000 and the steel fabricator $50,000 that was not previously budgeted. As I understand the EPD requirement, this will be a typical situation because of the custom nature of the products. Of all things, I would have thought that the wood for mass timber would not have required cost, but we found that to not be the case. In addition, the regulation will consume roughly 60 to 70 staff hours to manage the process and meet with and report to the University of Washington group overseeing the process. The University of Washington has created a special group just to do this, which consists of several full-time employees at a cost of some significance. Mr. Holt goes on to say, the contrived gauges of carbon footprint and global warming potential are arbitrary, without peer review, and damage any real effort to help the environment, but they are now part of the conversation just because of their constant use and repetition. This is not a venture free of cost, and the benefits appear to be of little real consequence. So I guess Dustin, within the written portion that I sent to you, there's numbers, there's staff hour costs. I mean, with the staff hour costs to the contractor, you could, the way that you could kind of look at that is take the average salary of a project manager and what the 2 weeks of work that they would put into that, the reporting and working with the awarding agency. And then I think a call should be put into the University of Washington and ask them, what was the staffing model like? What was the cost to them to have an EPD regulation and measure carbon and just to get dollar amounts on this? And then like Anderson Construction found out, there was $85,000 worth of costs that weren't previously budgeted. So it looks like there's a lot of coordination. It looks like there's a lot of costs. It looks like there's a lot of paperwork. It looks like there's a lot of time. And that's my recommendation. If you want real world numbers, look at that project and then call the University of Washington and talk to them about the cost on their side. It sounds like it was significant. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Tim? Comments for Tim? All right, hearing none. I had another sign up for Corey Shaw. I'm not seeing them in the room today. Are there any other folks in the room who wish to give comment on the rule changes proposed for the International Building Code? All right, seeing no hands coming up, we'll pause the recording. If folks come on who want to give some comment, please use the raise hand function and we will resume recording and call on names. Sorry about that. I was talking and nobody was hearing. It is 4 more minutes left in the time dedicated to the commercial building codes, and I wanted to make a last call for folks who might want to comment on the economic impacts resulting from changes to the commercial building code. Please raise your hand to give those comments. We'll let the recording run until 1:30, and then we'll begin the session for the next code. All right, it is now 1:30, and the time dedicated to the 2024 International Building Code is concluded. We will now begin the listening session for the 2024 International Residential Code. Please use the raise hand function on Zoom to indicate you wish to give testimony. I will call on participants in the order of raised hands. All right, folks, this is the opportunity to give comment on proposed changes to the International Residential Code. Patrick Hanks.
Yes, thank you. This is Patrick Hanks with the Building Industry Association of Washington. I'm also a tag member on the for the residential code, and I'll say I think there was only one proposal that would potentially, as far as the CBA stuff goes, there was only one proposal that we thought might increase costs for the industry, and that was not supported by the tag. There was a few proposals that could potentially lower costs. 028 and 031 come to mind. And we, BIW sponsored a proposal 033 that may lower compliance time a little bit. But other than that, I think the IRC proposals had a lot less going on than some of the other codes. So thank you.
Thank you, Patrick.
And I'll say that, we've tried to notify our members of what the State Building Code Council is doing and tried to provide them with some resources to provide email comments or fill out your survey. So hopefully you are seeing some responses come in through that. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. All right, others in the room wishing to give comment on the proposed changes to the International Residential Code, please raise your hand. We'll give that some time, and then if we're still seeing no activity, we'll pause the recording until we see some activity and get going again. All right, it's 1:57. There's 3 minutes left in our time dedicated to the International Residential Code comments. Making a last call for folks on the meeting to make comments for the International Residential Code changes for 2024. We'll let the recording play till 2 o'clock, and then we'll begin the session for the Mechanical Code and Fuel Gas Code. All right, it's now 2 o'clock. The time dedicated to the 2024 International Residential Code is concluded. We will now begin the listening session for the 2024 International Mechanical Code and International Fuel Gas Code, and this will run until 2:30. If you're in the audience and you'd like to give some comments on the International Mechanical Code and International Fuel Gas Code economic impact, please raise your hand. All right, seeing no hands in the audience, I will pause the recording. It's now 2:03. Time dedicated for the International Mechanical Code and International Fuel Gas Code will conclude at 2:30. All right, it's now 2:28. There's a couple minutes left in the time we have dedicated for the international for comments regarding economic impact on the International Mechanical Code and International Fuel Gas Code. Making a last call for folks on the call to use the raise hand feature to give comments before we move on to the International Fire Code. All right, it is now 2:30 and the time dedicated to the 2024 International Residential Code is International Mechanical Code, International Fuel Gas Code is concluded. We did have a recess planned at this time. I don't think that we need to do that one. So we're going to go ahead and continue on. Now it's 2:30. We're gonna do comments on the International Fire Code. Folks on the call who wish to give comments on proposed changes and economic impacts to the International Fire Code, please raise your hand and we will call on you to give comments. All right, it's 2:33. There's no hands coming up. We'll pause the recording. If anybody wishes to give testimony, please raise hand. We'll get the recording going again and call on them for testimony. Yes, once again, I was on mute and talking. It is 2:58. We have a couple minutes left in the time dedicated for the International Fire Code. Anybody on the call who wishes to give comment on the International Fire Code and economic impacts resulting from proposed changes to that code, please raise your hand and you can give some comments. Thanks. All right, it's now 3 o'clock. The time dedicated to the 2024 International Fire Code is concluded. We will now begin the listening session for the 2024 Uniform Plumbing Code. Please use the raise hand function of Zoom to indicate you wish to give testimony. I will call on participants in the order of raised hands. So folks on the call, if you wish to give some comment, please raise your hand and I will call your name and let you speak. All right, it's 3:03. There's no hands coming up in the audience for comments on the economic impacts resulting from proposed changes to the 2024 Uniform Plumbing Code. I'm going to pause the recording. If folks come online and wish to give comment, please use the raise hand function. Hello, it's 3:28. We have a couple minutes left in the time we have dedicated to the Uniform Plumbing Code. Making a last call for folks on the call if they wish to give comments on the economic impact resulting from proposed changes to the 2024 Uniform Plumbing Code. Please use the raise hand feature and we will call your name and let you give some comments. It is now 3:30. The time dedicated to the 2024 Uniform Plumbing Code is now concluded. We will now hear comments for all codes. This is an opportunity for those who may have missed dedicated time earlier to participate in this listening session. Please use the raise hand function of Zoom to indicate you wish to give testimony, and I will call on participants in the order of raised hands. So all codes are open for comment at this point, including the energy codes, both residential and commercial. If there's anybody on the call who wishes to give comment on any of the codes and their economic impacts, please use the raise hand function and I will give you a call. Thanks. All right, it is 3:33. No hands are coming up for comments. All codes comment time will conclude at 4 p.m. If there's any folks that come online, hope they use the raise hand function to let us know they wish to give testimony. I'm gonna record the or pause the recording now, and wait for raised hands. All right, it's 3:57. There's just a couple minutes left in our time dedicated to all codes for folks who may have missed opportunities earlier in our listening sessions. It's the last call for anybody on the call to raise their hand to give comments on any code under WAC 51 for economic impact resulting from code changes for the 2024 editions. It is now 4 o'clock. The time dedicated to commenters who missed opportunities to comment on specific codes earlier is now concluded. This listening session is being held to gather input on the economic impacts of proposals for the Washington State Building Codes. Information gathered will assist the SBCC in its determination that the probable benefits of the rules are greater than their probable costs. On behalf of the SBCC, I'd like to thank you for participating in this listening session. This listening session stands adjourned at 4 p.m.